because oh, there we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday advocacy update. My name is Alden Ekman. I'm a rising senior at Trinity University, and I'm an intern with TFA this summer. I'm helping out with grant writing and a variety of other tasks, but now I want to pass it off to Anne Graham, our executive director.
Great. Thank you, Alden, for the introduction, and delighted to be here. And I'll introduce our guest speaker in just a minute. You may recognize Alden. She and Christopher Kiley, our associate director, were our featured speakers last Wednesday when we were talking about the National Endowment for the Arts, ARP, American Rescue Plan, applications and the process to get ready to apply. Hope many of you are listening to that. Hope many of you who run nonprofit organizations think seriously about doing that NEAARP application. There's a webinar on our website at www.texansforthearts.com /ARP resources. There's a lot of material there, and it is a huge opportunity for those of you who fit the criteria, and it's very broad in terms of the nonprofit art sector to seek support for loss of business, salaries, operating expenses, etc. So please check that out. And thanks to Chris and Alden for providing a lot of information about that. Yes, last Wednesday. Today, Wednesday, we are, as many of you know, in the middle, a little bit more than halfway through a special session that was called by Governor Abbott. I believe, let's see, what month are we on June 8th, July 8th. And that's been topsy-turvy with the Democrats fleeing to Washington, D.C. and throwing sort of a monkey wrench into the plans. And we are all on a daily basis watching the special session unfold to see what happens both in D.C. And with some of the major issues here being the voters' rights issues that are being addressed in the Senate. So lots of activity happening when there may be more special sessions, and we know there will be a special session in the fall, and we will be actively engaged in that, which has to do with the redistricting once the census material is in place, and also which will have American Rescue Plan statewide requests. And as you all know from watching this every week, we will continue to remind you to be engaged in your municipality. You should be asking for resources for your arts and culture sector if you have not already done so. It is not a grant program. It is you, arts leaders in your community, approaching your decision makers, your mayor and council, on how these funds are being distributed. And we're seeing communities work on this, some with success, others it's still very much a work in progress. So again, at our website and on our ARP resources, you will find a lot of information there, and you may reach out to Texans for the Arts at info@texansforthearts.com with any questions, and we are happy to help and are helping other communities as we speak. So don't be shy. If you don't ask, you will absolutely not get. Someone who knows that very well is our guest today, and I'm excited to introduce Catherine Sack, who's the Executive Director of the Texas Downtown Association. Catherine was one of the first people I met when I took this job with Texans for the Arts, and TDA and TFA have become strong partners. None of us like to go it alone. We're better when we hold hands and work together on initiatives and policy and funding. And we've become great partners working with the TDA. We sit down once a year, and if not more, and go over what our legislative agendas are, and really want to work collaboratively because we have a lot of common interests. So I want to introduce Catherine, ask her to share with you about TDA, what it is, its mission, membership, what you get. I know you get a lot. And then we can talk and share kind of the kinds of issues that we do dovetail on, and how, again, working together, we are all that much more effective. So Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for the invite and for including me today. The Texas Downtown Association was founded in 1985 to connect and serve communities, businesses, and individuals who care about downtown. So we're open to everybody. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be a city official. If you care about your downtown, we want you to become part of our network. We joke that we are one of the, we have this wide swath of members across the state, but we probably have the smallest budget of all statewide organizations in Texas. We try to be affordable. We serve a lot of rural communities and a lot of, as well as the largest cities in Texas, including Austin, Houston, San Antonio, who were our founding members. Our goal is to really help our members connect with one another, because we believe that our members are our greatest resource. We found that they're really generous with their ideas, with supporting one another, and also with sharing their stories, because you don't just learn from people's successes, you also learn a lot from failures. So thankfully, our members aren't shy about sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly of what happens in their downtown, because there are a lot of challenges that communities face when they're focused on downtown revitalization. I think that working with TFA has been so positive for us, because downtown and art go together. Some of the best public art you're going to find is going to be in a community's downtown, and that's done, that happens for a reason. So we offer educational events. Right now, we're hosting a virtual program. We're calling it Downtown Summer Camp. And we're actually thinking that in the future, we may need to start holding a real summer camp and get everybody out at some great lake in Texas to enjoy some swimming, in addition to learning about downtown issues. We also host an annual conference. We'll be in Denton this year, if everything goes as planned, in November. And we also host regional meetings and webinars throughout the year. Our goal is to raise awareness about downtown, to share ideas that work for those common downtown issues, whether they be downtown vacancies, hobby business owners, struggling to get elected representatives on board with a downtown program. That's really our focus. So we put all of our efforts into that. And by doing that, we've created a lot of great relationships with partners across the state. And downtowns cover so many different aspects. So we work with Texans for the Arts. We work with Texas Economic Development Council, the Texas Travel Alliance, because all of those different pieces really come together in a downtown. It doesn't matter what size it is. So we're just really excited about how much effort seems to be going into so many downtowns right now across the state. Downtown seems to be a big focus for a lot of people, as more people recognize that downtowns really are the heart of the community. And when you have a healthy downtown, then you're more likely to have a healthy and vibrant community, one that attracts not only your visitors from out of town, but also your locals, because locals should be your first priority in your downtown. Because if your people are happy in your downtown, then they're going to tell their friends and family, and they're going to want to be there too. Oh, you're muted.
Boy, I didn't think that would happen on Zoom or on Facebook Live. You'd think after all these months we would figure that out. I was thinking of some of the issues that come to mind that seem like obvious connectors. And one of them, actually, it embraces historic preservation. And that is the Texas Historical Commission's the Courthouse Restoration Program, which we have historically, no pun intended, supported every session, because we know, and the statistics show, that when the state invests in rehabbing, and many of our courthouse squares have these gorgeous old, historic courthouses, and you see the ripple effect. If they restore these anchor buildings in the middle of downtowns, often rural, then you start to see sort of some of the businesses come back to life, and you get a retail opening, and you get a bar or a restaurant opening, and you get a gallery opening, and then maybe you have a festival, and then somebody paints a mural, and then they build upon each other. And that's just one example of a state program, the Courthouse Restoration Program, and they have to advocate every session for money for that program. Yes. Other things like tax credits, historic preservation tax credits, things that enable, if you own a building if you own, it doesn't have to be on a square, but if you have a historic building and you want to rehab it for your nonprofit organization, there are tax credits. So supporting things that don't sound necessarily like arts and culture are things that we can still make a difference. And I know when you share our legislative agendas, there are definitely those kind of commonalities.
Well, and not to mention that new micro enterprise grant program that was spearheaded this last session, because we know that so many artists are small business owners. And so those are going to be additional funds that are going to be available for artists, for printmakers, for other creative sector businesses that might only have fewer than 5 employees. A lot of resources are out there for larger businesses, but it's the mom and pops that are creating the jobs right now in this state and across the country. And so I was happy to see that the legislature saw that that was an important part of Texas's culture and was willing to back that legislation.
So refresh my memory. What are the details about that program, and how do people actually apply and get resources from it?
So the details are, of course, still getting worked out. The fund will be housed in the governor's office, in the Office of Economic Development and Tourism. And the legislation was developed by Representative Claudia Ordaz Perez from El Paso. This was her first piece of legislation that she got through, so it was really exciting for her, and we were proud to support it. So this will be some small funds. It's not going to be large grants, but we're hoping that within the next 6 to 8 months that they'll have more details to share with us, and we'll definitely pass them on to you so you can get them out to your membership.
Yeah, would be always looking for ways to, promote technical assistance learning, professional development learning, how to obtain grants. And I'm sure we'll read about it in your grant newsletter as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting too. I think another area that we share members would be in the Texas Commission on the Arts Cultural District Grant Program. And when
definitely a lot of those cultural district communities are also TDA members, and I don't think it's a fluke that so many of those have also strong downtowns, because as you travel across the state, you'll see that these really vibrant downtowns that have performance venues and galleries, that there's a commitment to arts, there's usually a commitment to downtown also.
Yeah, and that's always, I just mentioned, when you mentioned Denton as your next source of or site for your conference, and Denton has a TCA cultural district. So I'm sure you could look down the roster if it was 48, and I think they've just received applications for 5 more. So municipalities and arts leaders, they're seeing with this incredible growth of cultural districts, 1, now that we've been able to secure money through the legislative process, there's resources, but 2, even without that, business leaders and municipal leaders and citizens are recognizing that they're really a valuable asset. And I absolutely second what you said, which is, we don't develop our communities for tourists. We develop our communities, their heart and soul comes from those residents who live there, invest their livelihoods, work, play, go to school, go to church, spend money, etc. And as you just said, when you build a community that feels that connected, people know who they run into, people they know, there's a sense of place. It becomes a place you want to visit your friends there. People might want to move there. Businesses are more likely to consider locating in communities where you actually have, a strong sense of place, identity, heart and soul, because that makes it easier for them to attract and retain employees.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not just small businesses that are attracted to downtown. It is those larger employers who are looking for a sense of place, who are looking for quality of life for their employees. I know down in Seguin at their local hospital, they bring their doctors who are considering locating there to downtown on their first visit, so that they can see, hey, we've got this going on. We've got the world's largest pecan, but we also have a lot of other things going on.
And Smithville, which is also a Texas cultural district, and likely a member too. I think of you, they've got the world's giant gingerbread, as I recall, right?
They do. Yes, they do. And a strong arts commitment, I think, also. I was just telling another member of ours who's from a really small community about other communities that are equally small. Fayetteville, Texas, in Fayette County, population 250, has a world-class chamber music festival, and they have Arts for Rural Texans, which is an amazing nonprofit that gets art into, teaches kids art, teaches adults art, and they've really spurred some excellent artists out of that organization.
Yeah, I mean, and again, jumping back to Smithville, I remember meeting them for the first time, and they've done a lot of creative grant writing. They've gotten any National Endowment for the Arts grant.
Oh, yeah.
Really pulling resources together and helping transform. They're a film-friendly community. That's the thing. There are other programs in the governor's office, like the film-friendly and the music-friendly, where your community can apply and has to meet a series of criteria, but it helps leverage additional resources and attract other businesses or filmmakers and to want to use these creative locations. So there's lots of good programs out there that you uncover and we uncover and let our people know about them.
Absolutely.
So we're excited about what we do. We're passionate about what we do. Certainly, you can support our guests, Texas Downtown Association and Texans for the Arts. We're both some of the smallest but mightiest statewide arts advocacy and arts downtown advocacy organizations, and really appreciate all of you for checking in with us this Wednesday. There is the link on Facebook for the webpage for Texas Downtown Association. We want to thank Catherine for joining us today. We will be back next Wednesday. We'll be talking a little bit more about NEA and ARP and all the acronyms that go along with securing more resources for the arts and culture and creativity sector here in the state of Texas. So thank you, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.